Elephants line up to hug this woman. The reason is heartwarming. Martha was a gentle and kind-hearted woman who lived in the heart of Africa. She was known by all the animals in the area, and she had a special connection with the elephants. They would often come to her house and line up to be hugged by her. Unbelievable, isn't it? Just wait until you get to know why. Martha had always felt like an outsider. She was a quiet and gentle young woman who had a better connection with animals than with humans. Growing up, she had been bullied at school for being different, and she never quite fit in with the other kids. But Martha never let the bullying get her down. She had a deep love for animals, and she would often spend hours in the forest talking to the birds and animals she encountered there. They never judged her, and they always welcomed her with open arms. As she got older, Martha's love for animals only grew stronger. She would spend all her free time in the forest, caring for the animals and forming deep bonds with them. They were her closest friends, and she felt more at home in their company than she ever did in the company of humans. Hey there, Viral Videos here. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell. We post the most beautiful, amazing, and scary videos every single day. Let's proceed with the video. One day, as Martha was walking home from a volunteer trip at the local animal shelter, she was suddenly approached by a group of robbers. They demanded her purse and threatened to harm her if she didn't comply. Martha was terrified, and she thought for sure that this was the end of the road for her. But just then, a miracle happened. A stray dog appeared out of nowhere, barking ferociously at the robbers. The robbers were taken aback, and they quickly ran away, leaving Martha alone with the dog. Martha was grateful to the dog for saving her life, and she scooped him up in her arms, tears streaming down her face. She took the dog home with her that night, and from that moment on, he was her constant companion. Martha's love for animals only grew stronger after that incident. She realized that animals could be just as loyal and protective as any human, and she was filled with a sense of gratitude for all the animals in her life. The dog she rescued, now named Max, became her faithful companion. He went with her everywhere she went, and he was always by her side, watching over her and keeping her safe. Max lived a happy and fulfilled life with Martha. She loved him more than anything, and he loved her just as much. They were inseparable, and they spent every day together, exploring the world and enjoying each other's company. However, after 5 years of living with Martha, Max started to show signs of sickness. Despite all of Martha's efforts to help him, Max's health continued to deteriorate, and one day he passed away. Martha was devastated by Max's death. She felt as though a part of her had died along with him, and she was consumed by grief. Her life felt empty and meaningless, and she didn't know how she was going to go on without him. Despite her sadness, Martha continued to work at the animal shelter, hoping to help other animals in need and find some solace in her work. However, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing in her life. One day, she decided that she needed a change. She needed some excitement and adventure in her life, something that would take her mind off of her grief and help her move forward. That's when she decided to go on a group safari tour in Africa. She had always loved animals and nature, and she thought that seeing the wild animals of Africa up close would be the perfect way to reignite her passion for life. The trip was everything that Martha hoped it would be. She was surrounded by the beauty of the African wilderness, and she got to see lions, elephants, giraffes, and countless other animals up close and in their natural habitats. During her safari tour in Africa, Martha was particularly fascinated by the elephants. She was captivated by their grace, strength, and intelligence, and she was amazed by how they interacted with each other and with their surroundings. From that moment on, elephants became her new passion. She read everything she could about them, and she started traveling to different parts of the world to see them in their natural habitats. She learned about the challenges that elephants faced, from habitat loss to poaching. She saw firsthand the devastating impact that humans were having on elephant populations, and she felt a deep sense of responsibility to help protect these magnificent creatures. Elephant poaching in Africa is a complex issue that has far-reaching impacts on both the elephants and the people living in the region. There are several factors that contribute to elephant spawning, including habitat loss, poaching, and poaching. Habitat loss is a major issue for elephants in Africa. As human populations grow and expand, they are destroying the forests and savannas that elephants need to survive. This is causing elephants to roam into areas where they come into conflict with people, leading to increased poaching and human-elephant conflict. Another factor contributing to elephant spawning is poaching. Elephants are long-lived creatures with slow reproductive rates, which makes it difficult for their populations to recover from poaching. In addition, ivory poaching has become a major problem in Africa, with poachers killing elephants for their ivory tusks. This has led to a decline in elephant populations, which makes it even more important to protect these magnificent creatures. Martha was deeply committed to addressing the issue of elephant spawning in Africa. She worked with local communities, conservation organizations, and governments to raise awareness about the importance of elephant conservation and to implement measures to protect elephant habitats. She also advocated for stricter laws to curb ivory poaching, and she worked to support anti-poaching initiatives. Her efforts were having an impact. She saw a decrease in the number of elephants being killed for their ivory, and she was encouraged by the growing support for elephant conservation among local communities. She was also inspired by the young people she met who were passionate about elephant conservation and who were committed to making a difference. However, there was still much work to be done. Elephants continue to face threats from habitat loss, spawning, and poaching, and Martha was determined to keep working to protect these magnificent creatures. She knew that it would take a long-term commitment from everyone to protect elephants in Africa, but she was determined to do her part to make a difference. Martha started volunteering with local conservation organizations, and she quickly became a passionate advocate for elephant conservation. She spoke at schools, community events, and wildlife conferences, and she raised awareness about the importance of protecting these magnificent animals. As she worked to protect elephants, Martha discovered a new sense of purpose and meaning in her life. She felt that she was doing something meaningful and important, and she was inspired by the passion and commitment of the people she worked with. Martha had fallen in love with the elephants she encountered during her safari tour in Africa. She was moved by their intelligence, grace, and gentle nature, and she was deeply concerned about the threats they faced from poaching, habitat loss, and poaching. She knew that she wanted to do something to help protect these magnificent creatures, and she decided to migrate to Africa to pursue her passion for elephant conservation. Once she arrived in Africa, Martha set about establishing an elephant sanctuary. She purchased a large piece of land in a remote corner of the country where elephants were known to roam and began building the sanctuary from the ground up. She worked tirelessly to create a safe and welcoming environment for elephants, planting trees, digging ponds, and building shelters. She also recruited a team of passionate and dedicated people to help her run the sanctuary and care for the elephants. As word of the sanctuary spread, more and more elephants began to arrive. Some were injured or orphaned, and some were simply seeking refuge from the dangers of the outside world. Regardless of their reasons, Martha and her team welcomed each and every elephant with open arms and provided them with the love and care they needed to heal and thrive. The sanctuary quickly became a hub of activity, with visitors from all over the world coming to see the elephants and learn about their conservation. Martha also used the sanctuary as a platform to educate people about the threats elephants faced and the importance of protecting their habitats. Martha had dedicated her life to the sanctuary, becoming known as the Elephant Lady by everyone in the local community. Her love and care for the elephants was unwavering, and they would often come to her for comfort and love. But after 25 years of working tirelessly, Martha began to feel the effects of old age and illness. She was no longer able to keep up with the day-to-day operations of the sanctuary and decided it was time to return back home. Martha's return to the States was not easy, as her health had started to deteriorate. She had always been an active person, but after years of working in the hot African sun, her body was tired. One day, while trying to get out of bed, she felt a sharp pain in her hip and needed to see a doctor. She quickly realized that she needed a hip surgery. The surgery was a success, but Martha was out of commission for a whole year. She was confined to a wheelchair and unable to do the things she loved. This was a difficult time for her, as she was used to being active and independent, but she didn't let this setback stop her. Instead, she focused on her physical therapy and worked tirelessly to regain her strength. Martha's love for animals didn't wane, even during her recovery. She would spend hours reading about elephants and watching videos of them at the sanctuary. This gave her a sense of peace, knowing that the elephants she had worked so hard to protect were still thriving. During this time, she also started to write about her experiences in Africa and the work she had done at the sanctuary. She wrote about the joys and struggles of working with elephants and the importance of protecting these magnificent creatures. Her book became a bestseller and inspired many people to get involved in conservation efforts. After a year of hard work, Martha was finally able to walk again. She continued to work on her physical therapy, but she was determined to return to Africa and the sanctuary she had built. Despite her age, she was still filled with a sense of adventure and a love for life that nothing could take away. As soon as she landed, she headed straight to the elephant sanctuary. As she approached, she saw something that she would never forget for the rest of her life. All the elephants were lined up waiting for her. She was stunned and couldn't believe her eyes. She slowly walked towards them, tears streaming down her face, and as she got closer, she saw her favorite elephant waiting for her. To her surprise, they were holding branches of acacia trees, a symbol of love and respect in elephant culture. As she stood there, surrounded by these magnificent creatures, they all came forward one by one and hugged her with their trunks. She felt so overwhelmed with emotion that she could hardly stand. It was as if they were saying thank you to her for all the work she had done to protect them. Martha felt a deep connection with the elephants and knew that they understood her love for them. She spent the rest of her trip at the sanctuary just cuddling with them, and she left Africa with a heart full of love. What did you think of this story? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like the video and subscribe. See you next time.